If lower scores are what you're after, then this is the video for you. I've teamed up with Clubhouse Golf to find some situations on the golf course where I would almost guarantee that you're using the wrong club. There are better ways to play it. You have got a bag full of tools, and so many golfers are using the wrong club from the wrong situation. We're gonna fix and change all of that. So let's start off with a short shot from just off the green. So this looks like a relatively straightforward shot. I'm just off the green. I've got a little chip, bit of green to work with, but look at the lie, it's not a great lie. And very often from this situation with a wedge, whilst we can get the ball close, it's not an easy shot. And so many golfers will struggle with these types of shots, especially off poor lies. So why not take that wedge, leave it in your bag and grab something else. A fairway wood, a rescue, something that's got a head cover. Now I carry a 5-wood, and from here, I'd love you to try this shot. It sounds strange to use a fairway from this situation, but trust me, it's almost the easiest option with a little bit of practice. Because the way that the golf club is designed, the way that the sole of this club is designed, it's going to interact with the ground much better. So if I'm someone who potentially doesn't have a lot of confidence in my chipping, this is a great option. And it doesn't take a huge amount of practice to get this shot down and be able to get this ball close most of the time. There does need to be some setup changes. I'm certainly not going to stand this like I would if I was hitting a 5-wood as a full swing. So I'm going to go lead hand right at the bottom of the grip, and then my trail hand is actually going slightly onto the club shaft because I want to make this golf club almost as short as I can. That then makes the club a little bit shorter. I can then stand in much closer, and I want to have the ball slightly back of me. So I've got weight on the lead side. You can see the ball is slightly back of my stance, and notice how my arms are nice and flexed. I'm not looking for this rigid structured setup, nice and flexed in the arms. And you'll probably recognize that this is looking a little bit more like a putting stroke than it is a chip or a pitch or anything that would resemble anything with a 5-wood. So effectively, I'm going to take that setup and just use my 5-wood like a putter. It's going to come off with a little bit of loft, it's going to go through the fringe, and it's going to end up, with any luck, pretty close. So let's go ahead and show what this looks like. And that one should be not too bad. So what, 3.5, 4 feet, but I tell you what, it feels easy. And if I hit another shot, it feels so easy to make contact. And even if I land the club a little bit before the ball, the club just kind of continues on its journey. So from here with this club, strike is almost taken out of the equation. It's more a case of just, can you judge the distance? That one's probably a little bit better. It's onto a bit of a downslope. But I mean, that just feels pretty easy to get the ball close. And if I had another go, even without really a lot of thought, it's not that difficult to get that ball onto the green and within sort of holdable distance. So from this situation, try leaving the wedge in the bag, especially when it's a poor lie. Pull out something like a rescue or a 5-wood, give that a go. Might look a little strange, but if you're after lower scores, that's a good option. When you find yourself in a greenside bunker, we automatically dive in there for the sand wedge. But when you've got that much loft, you open the face and you're making contact with the sand before the ball, it can almost be impossible to get the ball far enough when you've got a situation like this where the flag is a little bit further away. Here I have got 42 yards back to that flag. So in this situation, I think there's a better option than one of your wedges. My 8-iron has got 2 distinct advantages. Number one, it's got significantly lower loft. That's going to help the ball come up with more speed on a lower trajectory and therefore roll more when it hits the ground. And also, it's a much longer golf club. So naturally, the golf club is going to have more speed as it swings around my body. So if you think about that first shot that ended up way short, we've got less loft and we've got more speed. Those 2 things alone are going to help me get back to that flag, which is, I say, 40 yards away. Now, once we've selected the 8-iron, technique-wise, it's not that different to a regular bunker shot. So I'm going to go relatively wide stance, set my feet in. Weight is going to go forwards by pushing my knees and my hips forwards. And I'm going to have the ball nicely up in my stance. Now, contradicting what I said a moment ago about choosing less loft, we're actually going to open the face slightly before I take my grip. We're not doing that because we want the extra loft, we're doing it because we want the leading edge to raise up a little bit and we want the trailing edge to be pushed down, which just helps the interaction with the club and the sand. Club shaft is going to be nice and neutral, and that is my setup. You'll notice that my alignment, pretty neutral. It's a little left, but it's not excessively left. So I'm going to be aiming pretty much at the flag, and my setup is fairly similar to a regular bunker shot. Now I can go ahead and just execute it like I would any bunker shot. Nice positive swing, impact in the sand some 2 to 3 inches before the ball, but because of the club that I've chosen, lower ball flight, more carry, more rollout should help me get close. The key thing when you're playing these shots, expectation. My expectation is that I'm going to get a better result than I would do with my sand iron. My expectation is not that I'm going to hit this to within 2 feet and give myself a tap in. This is an incredibly difficult shot. Many golfers think the 40-yard bunker shot is the most difficult shot in golf. So let's see if we can get a better result than we did with our sand iron. Okay, so it isn't 2 feet, but how much better is that result? It came out lower, it landed, it rolled me up the green. Yeah, I've still got a tricky putt, but that is a much better option than standing there with a high lofted club trying to give it everything you've got, running the risk of coming up short or blading it right over the back. So 8 iron over sand iron from that situation. I'd almost guarantee that the next time you play golf, you will have a short game shot from around about 50 yards, which is the shot that I've got behind me. Now from here, I can get the ball close with my 60-degree wedge. I can also get the ball close, if I wanted, with my putter, because there's nothing between me and the flag. And I can probably get the ball close with every club in between. So when you're in this situation, how do you know what is the right club for you? How do you know what is the right shot to play for you? Well, let's go through a little bit of a guide. I'm going to hit shots with my 60, with my pitching wedge, and with my 7 iron. And we're going to show you the pros, the cons, and who might suit which type of shot. So if we start with the 60, the benefit here is that you can carry the ball most of the way. So you don't have to worry about reading the green, but it is very, very high skilled, probably more suited to the low handicappers. When we look at the pitching wedge, it's a nice little happy medium. We get a lower flight, we get probably a safer option, and we get to land the ball on the green, which is really key with short game, but you do have to read a little bit more of the green because it's probably going to be spending 50% of its time rolling. Then we look at the 7 iron, probably the lowest risk of all the shots. Great for high handicappers or those who are maybe not as confident with their chipping. The downside to a 7 iron is that it's not a shot that we get to practice that often. And you're often landing the ball off the green. And that surface can be less predictable. Maybe the grass is a bit longer. Maybe it takes a kick left or kick right. So it can throw your ball offline. Now, even though there were 3 different clubs and 3 very different shots, technique-wise, they were quite similar. There were some key things that I was focusing on there. I'd love you to do the same. I was making sure that at setup I had my weight left and the ball back. My checkpoint is that the ball is behind my sternum. That's really important. That helps in my strike. The second thing was I made sure that my backswing was very much through my body, not really through my hands. So I was making sure I was rotating my body, keeping my wrist action limited. And then the third thing was I made sure that through impact, I kept rotating my body, which keeps structure in my arms. If the body stops rotating, the arms do this, or the wrists do this, and we start to really influence strike. So even though there were 3 different shots, those are the key things to think about technique-wise to make sure you've got success from these 50-yard situations.